So I'm Rob Alexander from AJ Alexander & Son. We are based in South Norfolk on some predominantly sandy clay loams. We're covering just over 5,000 acres here at the moment. So we've been using the Claydon system now for approximately 7 years. We had a desire to do less but achieve more. Something that our sandy clay loams are renowned for is collapsing if you overwork them. And what we like about the Claydon system is we can leave the soil in a stable condition until we're ready to drill. So our cropping here is quite mixed, everything from barleys, wheats, peas, beans, oilseed rape, maize for AD, grain maize as well is something that's now crept into the cropping plan. What the Claydon again has given us is the ability to slot in and out of those different crops. So over the last 25 years, we've been changing the approach at how we cultivate our soils. We were a very traditional plough-based system, which when we reflect back at over 55 litres of fuel per hectare going into that process, it sends a shiver down my spine now. We've moved over to non-inversion. We found by keeping the topsoil on the top and the subsoil underneath, but the drainage open, that we could reduce our costs using the non-inversion system, which was basically a tine followed by a disc drill. This saved us approximately 20 litres a hectare, but at that point it also showed us how much time we could save. And time is not only labour, which is ever harder to find, but it's also hours on machines like this, which again are a serious factor in the cost of production for us. So as that journey went along, we started to look at a system that was a little more risk averse. So what we wanted is to be able to maintain the structure of the soil right up to drilling so that it would carry the machines a lot better. And then once we have placed the seed, we need to make sure that we've still got those drainage channels underneath. The introduction to the Claydon came with a second-hand machine, which for 5 years was faultless. It's a very simple machine that we have. The wearing metal is simple to work with. You haven't got lots of bearings. You've basically just got pins, legs and shares. Over those 5 years, we went from doing 10 to 15% of the planned cropping area as a learning process to over 60% of everything we do. At that point, we decided to make the decision and upgrade the machine to a new machine, which gave us a lot more integrated controllability of things like the Nutriseeder, the fertilizer box. We do a lot of variable rate applications. We can actually now vary across all 3 boxes very simply by linking that with the John Deere Green Star system. And for the operator, that is paramount in making his life as easy as possible. Over this journey, we're now finding ourselves using the Claydon a lot more, not only in the spring work, but also in the autumn work for planting of cereals, oilseed rape, beans, etc. And I think one of the things that has again and again been highlighted is the evenness of the establishment across the field. Most importantly, that's on the headlands. By not driving on the headlands after they've been cultivated, we're seeing that headland yield performance has lifted greatly. Now we're turning on firm, solid ground, and then the last pass over that is the loosening and the drilling, and that seems to have definitely helped in our headland approach and increasing yield. Now, I mentioned at the beginning where we were 25 years ago with fuel consumption at 55 litres a hectare. With the current system, we're either using a straw rake or a gentle harrow just to create a chit and get a little bit of decomposition of any residues on the surface, followed by straight in with a drill. We've now got our seeding process down to about 17 litres a hectare. Add into that the time saving as well. The output from this 6-metre machine, 40 hectares a day, is easy, and that's allowed us now to do more acres with the same man and less machinery. So overall for the business, by working with the Claydon design and the Claydon system, we've been able to reduce cost of production, but also enable us to stay more profitable in times where commodity prices are very low. Over the last 20 odd years, we've had a very strong desire to improve the health of our soil. We've been working closely with specialist livestock producers on straw for muck arrangements. Now, one thing we were concerned about with going to direct drilling is how we would be able to incorporate the muck and get it through the drill. That is something that just has not been a problem. It is important to use a good spreader and break the manure down when it's applied, but then the drill has incorporated that quite well. And there's even a point with when we're using poultry manures,
the nature of the direct drilling system, we're actually moving the manure
over the rows with the skis at the back, so it concentrates the food where we need it. But when we look at our soils today, there is no doubt about it, our worm numbers have increased dramatically. You know, we wouldn't have seen many worms 25 years ago when power harrows were following ploughs. Today, you've only got to move one spit of soil and we've got handfuls of worms here. The interaction between what we're doing to the soil and what the soil is naturally doing itself with the worms, the organic matter, has definitely made the structure more resilient. It's more stable. What we've got now is this nice natural drainage channels where the water can go through during heavy rain. We've got the fine crumb in the surface, breaking down the nutrients and the residue, making them available for the crop, and then the roots picking that up in those drainage channels. We still have the challenges of all other farmers in the area. You know, we have had grassweed problems over the years. I do believe that's a battle we're winning. I would never say it's one that we've won. What again
the direct drill system has given us
is less disturbance. We're able to keep those grass weeds underground, but we have now got the TerraBlade hoe as an option. We've got an option that's not a can and not the sprayer. So entering into direct drilling was always going to be quite a shift change for us, and that's not something that we did blind. The change of doing something different for a farmer is always quite apprehensive. You can't go back and do it again once you've started. But something we found quite valuable was the team at Claydon were able to take us to their own farm where they've learned and worked with the machines, maybe even highlight practices that we hadn't thought of. You know, I never saw the value in a moss rake, as I used to call them, the straw harrow, but actually having now seen what we can do with the straw harrow, we've got that fine crumb on the surface as the years go on. They were able to explain to us and share with us experiences that we've now encountered and actually helped the process along. So the knowledge that the company has definitely influenced what we've done. And likewise, we've shared experiences with some of our heavier clays, some of our more stubborn ground that we've taken on contract that hasn't had the non-inversion. As a farmer and a contractor, we all talk about fuel per hectare, time per hectare, but in reality, we're all judged by yield. My customers judge me by how much is in the shed, and they obviously like it if I can spend less to get that to the shed. Going to a reduced system gave us concerns over would we see a yield deficit, and there was a natural defence mechanism to our customers when we explained what we were going to do, that well, we're spending less, maybe we can afford to get a bit less on yield. The reality for us has been we have not seen a yield decrease. If anything, we've seen increases, mainly by the headland effect. Our headlands are definitely producing better yield now than they would have done in the past, but we're also seeing quality changes in the crop, and that's mainly around the bushel weight that we find. We can regularly monitor and record the bushel weight from each field as we harvest, and we've seen at least 1 point increase on the bushel weight from any crops sown with the Claydon. And that's basically light interception. With the slightly wider rows, they don't fully close in until 2 or 3 weeks before the harvest, which means that all the ears get more sunlight. And the wider rows with this system seem to give us a balance to that and increase the bushel weight of the grain, ending up with more yield from that square meterage. During our journey from full plough tillage to non-inversion to direct drilling, there's a subtle difference that we've learned between compaction and structure. I always thought as a young farmer coming through that if you couldn't get the spade in, it was compacted. What we've actually learned is structure is a bit like the structure of a building to hold the roof up. You can still have a strong structure, but having the natural environment for the roots to go through. And what we've learned by not moving everything, give the roots the easy route down where the leading tine goes, but the pillars in between those legs still allow the roots to go through from the pores with the worms and the bacteria, everything that's working in there. But what that's actually given us is we're finding that the fields are travelling a lot better. And by travelling, I mean we're not sinking in. So the sprayer tram lines are now nowhere near as deep as they would have been when we were in a full inversion system. But that follows through not only with the sprayer. We find that the harvest, even when we get these July, August rains, the combines are not cutting in like they were. So once you can get those pillars of structure, the damage isn't being done by the following equipment. So yes, we still have balers running over our fields. We still have muck spreaders running over the fields, the combines, the grain trailers. And if they've got those pillars to hold everything up, we haven't got to then do the remedial action to loosen everything up. So to date, the summary of our journey with working with the Claydon system, it's given us a better structure, it's given us equal to better yields, and it's definitely lowered the cost of production of what we've done. The future for us, I see, is continual development of our soil structure. We're now starting to understand how the bacteria breaks down the residue within the soil and makes the nutrients available. Of where we are at the moment is learning more now about the natural bacteria and the fungi in the soil, and how by moving that ground less, we're getting a better extraction of the nutrients available to the crops. So as we go forward now, we're finding that we can lift that leading tine and reduce the horsepower required to pull the drill as time goes on. So what we may end up in the future now is the same size tractor pulling an even wider drill to give us more efficiency.